I got in an argument on the phone with someone last night, and it wasn't like a hate each other type of argument, but it was like we heavily disagree with each other. And we're okay. We're not like mad at each other, those type of arguments. For context, the people who I play Dungeons and Dragons with every Sunday on Discord, we're talking about starting a new campaign, right? Oops, I hit my mic. A new world, right? And I'll run the games. I said this time, I'll create my own world, I'll create my own story, and we'll all go through it. So for the past 4 days, I've been developing a world within this game that will take place. By the way, we need a 4th and 5th player. If you want to play Dungeons and Dragons with me, let me know down below. As long as you're consistently available at nights, okay? Remember, I live in the United States, so. Listen, worst thing about Dungeons & Dragons is scheduling. I play Baldur's Gate 3, kind of ruling too. So if you like Baldur's Gate 3, you'll like my games, right? So anyway, so the concept of this world is very similar to a lot of issues you see out there today. The main thesis of this story is that there is a place, an island that I created that is considered a sanctuary for refugees. In fantasy game worlds, right, you play Skyrim or Fallout or Oblivion or something, the Elder Scrolls, right, you know what I'm talking about? There's always corrupt factions and dragons and these people trying to take over the world and, you know, all this BS, right? Countries at war, religious groups thinking their land is theirs, and they got elitism over other things, destroying families, all that stuff. This is real life too. This happens in real life, obviously. But imagine, even on Earth, to make this easier for you, imagine there is an island where none of that is supposed to exist. No political rivalries, no religious tensions, nothing like that. Why? Because there is a rule system that prevents it from happening. And don't worry, it's not like laws. It's a rule system that cannot be broken. Like it's literally impossible to break those rules. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not steal. And some magical effect in this world or island prevents this from happening. Therefore, we eliminate people hurting each other and so forth. Some magical effect preventing people from murdering each other, from stealing from each other, from doing this and that. You know what I'm saying? So I was pitching this idea to my friend, and he's like, that's a great idea. That sounds so fun and interesting. He says, but, you know, again, that's so good, Andre. And it shows how we as a society move the goalpost. And I was like, what? We do what? We move the goalposts. What are you talking about? And he said, from what you just explained, it sounds like you're creating an island in a chaotic, corrupt world like Earth. And in this island, certain groups are being protected and cannot be judged based on their imperfections and biases. What do you guys think about that? Based on what I said, how I explained this world. And then this conversation started expanding to real world examples, because I think we are all aware there are certain groups, cultures, belief systems, and so forth on this planet right now that are protected more than others in society. You can never critique them. If you do, they will attach a label to you. You know, actually, I'll give you a good example, right? If you're following the point here, or you're not following the point. Last video is a great example, a perfect example. For those who watch the Aku anime consistently, you know how many videos, there's like 30 plus videos of me critiquing the psychology and the behavior of men, right? I will harshly critique how us as men act or behave. But the moment I critique women, oh, you're an incel. All right, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'll critique men for 30 plus videos. Everyone's okay with it. You know what I'm saying? Then I say something about female or women. You're an incel, bro. All right. Mental gymnastics being made in the comments about behaviors, right? Justifications. So same thing with this video, by the way, where I talked about, remember this guy, yeah, some of y'all remember that I was like, hey, I feel like as someone who's black, I feel like destructive, ignorant, and violent culture attached to us makes us look bad, and we promote it and isn't good for our progression. Black ignorance is not a good thing. You know what happened when I said that? People in the comments calling me Uncle Tom, saying what's it, self-hating, right? I don't like, you know, this sounds like self-hating video. But if we crack jokes about white people, nobody has anything to say. Suddenly it's facts, right? Suddenly it's the truth when I make jokes about white people. But when I say something about black people, I say black ignorance is a bad thing, all right, suddenly, you hating on black people, bro. You know what I'm saying? You are Uncle Tom, all right? You know, you gave up you bent over for the white man, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like certain groups or demographics of people in society, people definitely move the goalpost for. It's okay to do this, but it's not okay to do this, even though whatever this is not okay to do in general. But when it comes to targeting certain groups in this subject, we move the goalpost for this. We change the rules for them. It's okay for them. So when we were arguing, he's saying my story I'm trying to build is justifying an issue in everyday society. We get mad at certain groups for doing certain things, but we don't see the full context or we don't consider it. But my argument was that's not right though. Okay, let's say, oh my God, you guys could probably think of a real world conflict right now that's happening, or it has been happening for years now. But let's say there is a certain religious group that had done violent acts in the past, right? But due to circumstances now, times have changed, where that religious group is the one doing violent acts now, the one that was originally the victims, right? Or originally, you know, you know what I'm saying? Yet we sympathize more for the religious group who is currently experiencing the violent acts, as if we ignore the history attached to it, right? His argument to me is that this world that I'm making, where everyone is protected in society and we just ignore the history of what people did in the past or what certain groups or people did in the past, is not practical, because people will always hold resentment or do mental gymnastics for people who they favor or who are more relatable to them. Like how I mentioned with the example about, you know, black ignorance, or I mentioned about, you know, you talk about, you could say a bunch of stuff about men, but you can't talk about females. Otherwise you're this and that, you know what I'm saying? Like we protect them for some reason. And it's like, and he's saying, look, it's wrong to protect certain groups. And, you know, I was like, look, my argument is, this is my argument about this. I said, people shouldn't have to pay for the history or crimes of their ancestors. If I was born in a country that is at war because of my ancestors, and I'm an innocent civilian, I don't want nothing to do with this, you know what I'm saying? I don't see why I don't deserve protection. Am I wrong for thinking this? Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. This war that I was born into in this country has nothing to do with what I did or tried to push. I was just born here. You know, I'm just an innocent civilian. I want nothing to do with this. I'm tired of the violence. And I feel like these type of people should be given safety to avoid the conflict. This is not their battle to fight. And they disagree with this, my friend. They're saying, well, you know, see, I get where you're coming from, Andre, but cultural, religious, and political biases from people born in countries or places that are in conflict will always have certain biases towards other people based on their experience. And they will bring those biases to other places where they seek refugee. And then we got to talk about them seeking refugee. Like, what about this now? Okay, so we just give them stuff? We just give other people stuff now, and therefore, look, it's not practical to create a perfect world like this, you know. And this story is great, but there's going to be a lot of conflict going on here. You can't create a perfect world, and I don't think he's necessarily wrong about that. But you know, maybe this is what makes this Dungeons and Dragons campaign idea that I have, this world building. Maybe this is what makes it fun. You know, this is what makes it fun for people to play in. It becomes ethical and moral dilemmas here, which create polarity and diversity with the story. You know, I can see both sides, but then, you know, like he mentioned the semantics about refugees. Okay, so let's say a bunch of innocent civilians who have nothing to do with their country's politics decide to go to another country to seek freedom, right? Or to get away from the political or the war or whatever, right? Who is going to house these people? Who's gonna house these people? Are we just going to give them our resources? Give them full-blown benefits and opportunities? Who's paying for this stuff? Who's paying for this stuff? And then, see, this gets into the ethical and the political issues that we see going on today, right? If we deny benefits to those who are refugees, immigrants, or anything of that realm, are we going to be surprised when they come into the country or they're seeking refugee and they start doing things that harm society because they need to feed themselves or their family and they're just trying to make a living, they're just trying to escape, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, we're going to deny them certain things, you know what I'm saying? But the point is, I don't want to get into all that stuff, right? The deeper layers of that stuff. You guys know where this conversation is going. But the point is, going back, we do move the goalpost sometimes. About this, like this is what my friend is saying. Like, we do protect certain groups or demographics. But if we protect everybody, if we keep doing stuff like that, like moving the goalposts, if we protect everybody and give everyone excuses or justifications or try to take care of everyone, then they never deal with their own conflicts. And again, I don't agree with that. I don't want to fight for something I never started. And I don't feel like others should be fighting for stuff they don't want to start. Look, you know, I've seen veterans make this argument too. They'll be like, oh, I fought a war that I never started or wanted to happen, but I wanted to serve this country to help fight for my people, fight for my land. And then there are others who aren't interested in fighting for their own people. They rather just, hey, I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to participate. I'm that type of person, by the way. If I was in a country born, I would leave too. I would be a refugee because I'm not fighting this war. I'm not interested. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Again, I think this is a great world building plot because now the players are going to have moral and ethical dilemmas, and that's going to make it exciting. You shouldn't just games. I feel like when you world build or like even just like video game stories, you need to make the player question certain things that are going on. Like you got to get them emotionally invested because I feel like these topics are so like this topic specifically can get very emotionally intense for people, and I feel like I kind of agree with my friend here when he said something. I don't think you can erase biases in certain cultures. I don't think you can. I agree. I feel like some people, they'll see stuff that goes on in their country and they'll come back or they'll go to another country and they'll also push certain ideologies from there. Or they'll be like, they'll hold certain prejudices, but I don't know what people do though to protect certain biases based on their political or social understanding or opinion about situations is what determines how people feel about that though, I think this would be a great story. What do you guys think? How do you guys feel about the story? And what do you guys think about what my friend and I are arguing about? Do you think it's fair that we protect people or move the goalposts for certain groups? Or does everyone should everyone get the equal, the equal treatment here? But in terms of like what we're going to critique their current behaviors for, or should we judge people from the history, even though their ancestors have nothing to do with what's currently going on, Anyway. Let me know down below. This episode is found on Spotify and YouTube. I'm out.